The best real-time indicator is home sales and mortgage purchase applications, because these show you home buyer demand. And right now, both home sales and mortgage purchase applications have absolutely plummeted by 20% year over year nationally. And there's certain cities that are down 40 to 50% on home sales year over year. So what that's saying is that the home buyer is out of the market. There's certain people who still think there's buyer demand. There is very little to no buyer demand in this housing market when you look at home sale data. And this is something that is now causing inventory and active listings to surge on the market. So as home sales decline and as more buyers drop out of the market, that's going to leave listings on the market longer. It's also going to cause sellers to get a bit more desperate to list their home. And so now we're seeing, as a result of the decline in sales, the inventory is really picking up. Realtor.com, their national data on inventory has shown 3 months in a row where America has added over 100,000 homes to its inventory stock. Those are record levels in Realtor.com's data set. And it's going to get even worse into the fall, because the thing that is happening right now in the background that not a lot of people are thinking about, that you got to be paying attention to this, because it's not only a decline in buyer demand and an increase in inventory in the short term, it's the fact that home builders right now are going nuts. A record number of homes and apartments are under construction, are under construction, over 1.7 million units actively under construction that were delayed due to the pandemic. Well, now those delays are easing, and this home builder inventory is going to be dumped onto the US housing market over the next 6 to 12 months, just as the home buyer demand is plummeting. So that's something that has potential to send this housing crash into overdrive throughout the end of 2022 and into early 2023.
All right. And a common refrain over the past bunch of years, but certainly we've heard a lot this year, is the housing market really can't correct because we have this chronic shortage of inventory. We just have too few homes. Doesn't sound like it from what you're saying there.
It's not true. On a national level, that is not true. It's one of the biggest fallacies and myths about the US housing market. And what you got to think about, again, is more regionally. Like, it might be true that, Los Angeles or New York City has a shortage of homes because there's dense cities that have restrictive zoning laws and it's hard to build. But it is not true at all that Austin, Texas, or Nashville, or Tampa, or many of the pandemic boom towns have a shortage. In fact, in many of these metro areas, home builders are building 30 to 40-year records of homes and apartments. So the notion of a housing shortage from a structural standpoint is not true. If you look at data comparing the relationship of employment to the number of housing units in America over the last 70 years, we're actually close to an all-time low in that metric, meaning that we have way fewer workers for how many housing units we have. Similar situation exists when you compare population to housing units. So the notion that there's a structural shortage is not true at all. It's largely one that's been pushed by housing market bulls who have a vested interest in seeing home prices go up.
All right. So you're saying, there's sort of going to be this insult added to injury in a lot of these markets where right as prices are softening hard, you're going to see a lot of new inventory come online, which obviously is just going to mean, hey, a lot more houses out here. We got to bring prices down to get folks interested in them, right?
From the home builders.
I have seen, sorry, real quick, but I have seen a headline, I think just this week, that said that that you're now seeing to see a spike in buyers backing out of deals with home builders.
Oh yeah, for sure. Home builders are in deep trouble right now. And if you look at what the home builders are saying on their earnings calls or in their sentiment surveys, it is really bad. They're having to deal with a record amount of cancellations for the last couple of years. John Burns Real Estate Consulting just reported that the home buyer cancellation rate for builders is now the same as it was in April of 2020, like that first month of the pandemic. Buyers are as scared today to buy as they were back then. Not only that, home builders are dealing also with a collapse in buyer demand in home sales. Just a report today from the US Census Bureau reported a 30% year-over-year decline in home sales, up to 50% on the West Coast of America. And so look at what these home builders are doing and saying. Their sentiment has collapsed, their reported buyer traffic has collapsed, and now they're very open about saying this. The National Association of Home Builders just said that we're in a housing recession. They're going on record saying that we're in a housing recession. In fact, so is the National Association of Realtors. So these big entities are starting to come around to the idea that the housing market crash has started.
If you enjoyed this video clip, click here to watch another one you should like.